Hello friends, welcome back to ReddX, your source for the freshest daily cringe content anywhere on the internet. Promise swearsies, it's just a fact, and it's totally science. Go ahead and look it up. So, today we are going to be talking about Reddit API drama is really what it boils down to. There's an app named Apollo that's leading the charge because, the API is used to send and receive requests from Reddit, and to have a free app start getting charged for that, it is fairly egregious. Reddit's looking for a lot of different ways to monetize. They are bleeding money just a little bit, but this is the wrong way to go, man. I also don't think that this strike is going to last more than the 2 days that it was specified for, which is a terrible way to organize a strike. Of course, Reddit is going to just wait it out. Their revenue probably will take a little bit of a hit, but I'm thinking that they're thinking that it will be a larger weight off of their shoulders a bit later on in the future. You can slap more ads on the site if you need to, okay? I think most of us understand that when it comes to free content, so here we go. Had a call with Reddit to discuss pricing. Bad news for third-party apps. They announced pricing is close to Twitter's pricing, and Apollo would have to pay Reddit $20 million per year in order to keep running as is. For a free app. Twitter's pricing is really insane too. I tried to develop API to API in order to automate my social media a little bit more, but yeah, Twitter's price is too high. And to have Reddit start charging too is bad for me, but mostly just because I'm lazy. Hey y'all, I'll cut to the chase. 50 million requests cost $12,000, a figure far more than I ever could have imagined. Apollo made 7 billion requests last month, which would put it at about $1.7 million per month, or 20 million US dollars per year. Even if I only kept subscription users, the average Apollo user uses 344 requests per day, which would cost about $250 per month, which is over double what the subscription currently costs, so yeah, I'd still be in the red every single month. So the fact that Apollo has subscription users is a little strange to me. Perhaps Reddit is trying to funnel people directly into their site, but if that's the case, they really need to fix their mobile app and whatnot, because that crashes all the time. It just won't load. It's a terrible thing, and if Apollo could do that better, I'd make the switch too. So the plot thickens as to why Reddit might want to shut it down, right? I am deeply disappointed in this price. Reddit iterated that the price would be A, reasonable and based on reality, and B, that they would not operate like Twitter. Twitter's pricing was publicly ridiculed for its obscene price of $42,000 for 50 million tweets. Reddit's is still $12,000. For reference, I pay Imgur, a site similar to Reddit in user base and media, $166 for the same 50 million API calls. I think Reddit is overvaluing their market share by quite a little bit here. But nobody seems to want to budge, so I guess everybody's just gonna learn the hardest way. Again, I have no investment in it. I use both the app and Reddit Premium, and I do pay for Premium because it's like, you know, I pulled a lot of money out of Reddit, so why not throw a little back in?
Damn good deal.
Anyways, as for pricing, despite claims it would be based in reality, it seems anything but. Less than 2 years ago, they said they had crossed 100 million in quarterly revenue for the first time ever. If we assume that despite the economic downturn, that they've managed to do that every single quarter now, and for the best quarter, you basically doubled it to 200 million. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they just hit that high in revenue because it was pandemic times, no? Apollo tried to twist the facts to put the squeeze on him, but it does seem to be working. Although, most of the force that they have mobilized seems to be Reddit power moderators who have nothing better to do than get angry over an app that they don't use. I guess I am forming an opinion and a side in this video, aren't I? But hell, I see it how I see it. Maybe it's just my love of ripping on OPs. Blame it on that, whatever. The post continues. Let's also be generous and go far, far above industry estimates and say you made another 50 million in Reddit Premium subscriptions. That's 550 million in revenue per year. So let's say an even 600 million. Yeah, why aren't you a $1 billion company yet? In 2019, they said they hit 430 million monthly active users, and to also be generous, let's say they haven't added a single active user since then. If we do revenue per user calculations, the more users, the less revenue each user would contribute. So at generous estimates of 600 million and 430 million active users, that's roughly $1.40 per user per year, or 12 cents monthly. These own numbers they've given, and they also are seemingly in line with industry estimates as well. I go in to check the receipts on the industry estimates, and I see Reddit users are the least valuable of any social network. Oh, you got beat by TikTok and everything. Estimating 30 cents per user. Damn, dude. I get not wanting to have an ad every other post, but this is just the truest pain. Least valuable. I love it. I gotta wonder if it's worth like even less than 4chan, you know? Because that's real bad. 4chan videos, they don't make nothing on YouTube. Reddit videos, they basically kill it. Not to get into the YouTube side of it. We'll focus on the Reddit thing, but yeah, 30 cents per user is just abysmal. For Apollo, the average user uses 344 requests daily, or 10.6K monthly. With the proposed API pricing, the average user on Apollo would cost $2.50, which is 20 times higher than the generous estimate of what each user brings Reddit in revenue. Like I said, they've massively overestimated their market share. They should have just gone public. And the time to do that would have been way before you tried this API stunt, man. This is pathetic. So while Reddit's been communicative and civil throughout this process, with half a dozen phone calls back and forth that I thought went really well, I don't see how this pricing is anything based in reality or even remotely reasonable. I hope it goes without saying that I don't have that kind of money, nor would I even know how to charge it onto a credit card. No, you definitely don't want to do that. See, now my position is shifted again. Once you lay all the numbers on the table, I'm like, yeah, Reddit, that's insane. Still not gonna hop on the bandwagon. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, to say the least. I mean, worst case, it's just, all right, TikTok content from now on. There's plenty of other social medias.
With me being a Reddit content creator for YouTube, you'd think I'd have a larger investment in this whole situation, but I don't. It's a nothing burger. Nobody cares except a bunch of deluded power mods. We'll be back to resuming normal operation within the week.
Whatever. Anyways, this is gonna require some thinking. I asked Reddit if they were flexible on this pricing or not, and they stated that it's their understanding that no, this will be the pricing, and I'm free to post the details of the call if I wish to, which he has done. But to me, it sounds like just two nerds being really passive-aggressive. For the uninitiated wondering, what the heck is an API anyways, and why is it so important? It's an application programming interface. It allows apps to interact with Reddit in order to send and receive requests. I covered it at the beginning of the video. So yes, I think the truth for this first post is found somewhere in the middle ground, okay? Reddit isn't making profit hand over fist, but yeah, sticking it to people who had the passion to develop an app in order to access your site that's better than the Reddit app, why are you gonna punish that? That seems crazy. Maybe they don't have enough advertisers to run all the ads that they want to run. And if that's the case, then they'd have to shut down all the not safe for work subreddits, right? So if Reddit comes out and issues an ultimatum and says, look, we can give you the API for free, but we have to put a crackdown on all porn on the Reddit, people will change their minds real quick. They'll be like, oh yeah, we'll pay for the API, that's fine. Just let us see the boobas.
Oh, look at my little college man.
Where are they? Seems to be about how it goes, okay? So yes, let's get into the next series of this. Apollo will close down on June 30th. Reddit's recent decisions and actions have unfortunately made it impossible for Apollo to continue. Thank you so much for all the support over the years. Hey, yeah, I don't know who you were before now, but Maybe you could ride this wave to some success, you know? It seems the only thing they've done is made people buy Reddit coins to gift to this post. 652 platinum awards. Hey, you might have lost your app, but now you can browse this website that you probably hate now. That's comical to me, man. OP says, hey all, it's been an amazing run, thanks to all of you. 8 years ago, I posted in the Apple subreddit about a Reddit app that I was looking for beta testers for, and my life completely changed that day. I just finished university and had an internship at Apple and wanted to build a Reddit client of my own, a premier, customizable, well-designed Reddit app for iPhone. I mean, it's fair, Babby's first smartphone needs a Reddit app too. This fortunately resonated with people immediately, and it's been my full-time job ever since. Today, a much sadder post than the initial one 8 years ago. June 30th will be Apollo's last day. I've talked to a lot of people and have come to terms with this over the last weeks, as talks with Reddits have deteriorated to an ugly point. And again, both sides had fault in that, okay? In the interest of transparency with the community, I wanted to talk about how I arrived at this decision. If you have any questions at the end, I'm more than happy to answer. This post will be long because I got a lot of topics to cover. That's all right, I got some time. Please note, I recorded all my calls with Reddit, so my statements are not based on memory, but the recorded statements by Reddit over the course of a year. One-party consent recording is still legal in my country of Canada, and I won't be naming names, so that's not important. And I don't want to dox people. So what you're saying is, if we want to do a prank phone call show, we have to call from either Canada or Nevada. Those are the two places I know. So what happened initially? Well, we sort of covered it, but on April 18th, Reddit announced changes that would be coming to the API. Namely, the API is moving to a paid model for third-party apps. Shortly thereafter, we received phone calls. However, the price, the key element in an announcement to move to a paid API, was notably missing, with their intent being to follow it up in 2 to 4 weeks. That's never a good sign. You can't ask devs to foot the bill like this. That's insane. The information they did provide, however, was we will be moving to a paid API, as it's not tenable for Reddit to pay for third-party apps indefinitely. Which, of course, is understandable and agreed, says Apollo. So they're looking to do equitable pricing based in reality. They mentioned that they were not looking to be like Twitter, which has API pricing so high that it has been publicly ridiculed. No, it is ludicrous. It's thousands. For the funny little Twitter bot idea that I had, I can't foot the bill for that. Forget it. Maybe another 5 years. Post continues. I was excited to hear these statements, as I agreed that long-term, Reddit footing the bill for third-party apps isn't tenable, and with a paid arrangement, there's a great possibility for developing a more concrete relationship with Reddit, with better API support for users. I think this optimism came across in my first post about the calls with Reddit. Which, yes, we could also go to and probably do the whole series of posts, but just because I'm a purist doesn't mean I'm a sadist, okay? All of the information we've covered is also in that first post, essentially. Just a bunch of like, maybe this will happen. Here are some concerns I have. So when did Reddit announce pricing? It was 6 weeks later, from the 2 to 4 weeks, that they finally called to discuss pricing. I quickly put together a small app where I could input the prices and it would output the monthly/yearly costs. Costs for free users, paid users, etc. So I'd be able to process the information immediately. The price they gave was 24 cents for 1,000 API calls. I quickly inputted this in my app and saw that it was not far off from Twitter's outstandingly high API prices at $12,000. And with my current usage, that would cost almost $2 million per month or $20 million per year. That's not an exaggeration. We broke down the numbers in the first post. That's just multiplying the 7 billion requests that Apollo made last month by price per request. So could I potentially get that number down? Absolutely, given some time, but it's illustrative of the large cost that Apollo would be charged. So either your app or, I don't want to accuse Apollo of being inefficient, but yeah, why not streamline it a little bit more, you know? If it's do or die, this is the 0 hour. You got some huge publicity from this wave of stink. So why not, rework things and and come back at it? Like, actually, we're not shutting down. Hey, guys, come give us more money now. Not Reddit gold, because that doesn't spend. Okay, so, why does Apollo say that Reddit's pricing is too high? By what metric? Again, we sort of covered that. Reddit users are the least valuable of any social media network. Yes, we all recall. They're worth 30 cents each. You want me to break down those numbers again? Sure you don't. Moving on. Why doesn't Reddit just buy Apollo and other third-party apps? I mean, again, I'm pretty sure that's money that they don't have, but sure, spin us a yarn. This was a very common comment across the topics. If Apollo has an apparent opportunity cost of $20 million per year, why not just buy them and other third-party apps as they did with Alien Blue? I believe that's a fair question. If these apps apparently cost so much, an easy solution that would likely keep everyone happy would be simply buying these apps out. So I brought that up to them during a call on May 31st, where I was suggesting a variety of potential solutions. Okay, but what was the proposed price for the Apollo app? I guarantee you they don't have much liquid assets in this moment. And then we move on to the really juicy part, honestly, is the bizarre allegations by Reddit of Apollo blackmailing and threatening Reddit. After 24 hours after that call with Reddit, I received this odd message on Mastodon. Could you please comment publicly about the internal Reddit claim that you tried to blackmail them for a $10 million payout to stay quiet? Oh, juicy, yes. And then yesterday, moderators told me that they were on a call with CEO Steve Huffman, Spez, and he said the following per their transcript.
Apollo threatened us, said they'll make it easy if Reddit gives them $10 million. This guy behind the scenes is coercing us. He's threatening us.
So really, both of you are trying to stir up the beehives, but only one of you is really good at it. And I'll admit the narrative does carry some weight, Independent app developer versus giant corporation. And I mean, Reddit's big, but it's not really giant. I still agree, though, for the record, that they shouldn't be charging this much for their API. You've overestimated your market share, as I say for the third time now. OP continues, wow, because my memory is that you didn't take it as a threat, and you even apologized profusely when you admitted that you misheard it. It's very easy to take a single line and make it look bad by removing all the rest of the context, but let's look at the full context. I can only assume that you didn't realize I was recording the call, because there's no way you'd be so blatantly lying if you did. As said, a common suggestion across many threads was, if third-party apps are costing Reddit so much money, why don't they just buy them out like they did Alien Blue? That was the point I brought up. If running Apollo as it stands now would cost $20 million yearly, as you quote, I suggested you cut a check to me to end Apollo. I said that I'd even do it for half that, or 6 months worth. $10 million. What a deal. This seems really weird to me. I'm not technological enough to know, but can't they just cancel the API number on their end or let it lapse or something like that? It feels like an empty threat, if anything.
Spaz is just really reaching, I guess.
The bizarre thing is, initially on the call, you did interpret that as a threat. Even giving you the benefit of the doubt, that was maybe my phrasing was confusing, it was. Cut a check to me if you want to end Apollo. It's like that's all he heard. Because he's also worried about his company that's bleeding money. So I asked for you to elaborate on how you found what I said to be a threat, because I was incredibly confused as to how you had interpreted it that way. I kind of just explained to you, but yeah, you responded that I said, hey, if you want it to go away, which is not at all what I said. So I reiterated that I said, if you want Apollo to go quiet, as in it's quite loud in terms of API usage.
Read, inefficient.
And then, what did Spez say to Apollo Guy? Apollo Guy clarified, I said, if you want Apollo to go quiet, like in terms of, I'd say it's quite loud in terms of API usage. Reddit, oh, go quiet isn't that. Okay, got it, sorry. That's a complete misinterpretation on my end. I apologize immediately. Yeah, but he is gonna try and put that in his back pocket for later. Because they're just really both petty little men, ain't they? Why don't we have pistols at dawn anymore? Just go duel it out, you guys. Whoever wins gets their way. I'd like to hear Reddit's side of this and know exactly how loud Apollo is in terms of API usage. How many requests does it take in order to build a page? So what I've uncovered from this post is that nobody knows what the hell they're doing. Apollo guy made a sloppy app. Reddit ran their company into the ground and is trying to squeeze indie developers. Nobody truly knows what they're doing. The world is just a big swizzle. People walking into doors and saying things. Okay, continuing on with the internet slap fight. The admission that you mistook me and the 4 subsequent apologies led me to believe that you acknowledged you mistook me and you were apologetic. The fact that you're pretending none of this happened or was recorded and instead espousing a different reality, where instead of apologizing for taking it as a threat, you're going to do the complete opposite and say, he threatened us, is so low, I almost don't believe it. Tech nerds doing tech nerd shit, man. Everybody's stealing from everybody. Did Zuck invent Facebook? Did Bill Gates invent Windows? Okay, everybody's just trying to step on each other's necks and smile in their enemy's face while they do it. I hate it. Just be authentic. Be like, look, I don't like you. I feel like you've been taking advantage of me. My company's bleeding right now. Do the decent thing and pay me $20 million per year. But again, I recorded all the calls with you in case you tried something like this. And yes, there is the audio portion.
Hey, I could make it really easy on you. If you think Apollo is costing you $20 million a year, you cut me a check for $10 million and we can both skip off into the sunset. 6 months of use, we're good. That's mostly a joke.
6 months of use. 6 months of use. So what
no, well, I'm saying if you're saying
you said mostly a joke, but I want to take everything you're saying
Fair
seriously, enough. Just to make sure I'm not. What do you?
I'm saying that if Apollo's opportunity cost currently is $20 million at the 7 billion requests in the API volume, if that's your yearly opportunity cost for Apollo, cut that in half, say for 6 months.
Yeah.
Bob's your uncle.
See, he thinks he's a cool guy saying these types of phrases. Bob's your uncle. We could go skip off into the sunset. I don't want to have this go another way. Like, I can see neither of you are really talking directly. And like I said, a couple of nerds being passive-aggressive. I don't really want to dwell on it for the full 3 minutes. There's also a transcript, but I heard what I need to hear, honestly. It's a complete misunderstanding. You're trying to be the cool guy and walk away with the bag, and he's trying to save his company in the worst way possible. It really is a fascinating tale if you can look past some of the slower portions of this video. If anyone would like the recording of the full call, I'm happy to provide. No, I don't think I have the sanity for that, man. You good, fam. Just keep going. I bring this up for 2 reasons. I didn't want Reddit slandering me to internal employees or public people by saying I threatened them, when the reality is they immediately apologized for misunderstanding me. It shows why I've finally come to the conclusion that I don't think this situation is recoverable. If Reddit's willing to stoop to such deep lows as to slander individuals with blatant lies to try and get community favor back, well, I no longer have any faith that they want this to work, or that they ever did. That's true. Might have been their whole aim to just get this API out of the way. Like I said, how many requests is it making? I don't think Reddit's being completely upfront with us, of course, but I'm not going to assume that this guy is either. And then they cover again, what is an API or API request? We got that, right? I think I've explained it twice now. I'm not a sadist, like I said. He claims that Apollo is inefficient. Doesn't sound like an untruth from what I'm hearing. Another common claim by Reddit is that Apollo is inherently inefficient, using on average 345 requests per day per user, while some other apps use like 100. I'd like to use numbers to illustrate why I think this is very unfairly framing it. Yes, I like this. This is what I was asking for earlier. Great, you have my full attention. Up until a week ago, the stated Reddit API rate limits that apps were asked to operate within was 60 requests per minute per user. This works out to a total of 86,400 requests per day. Reddit stated that Apollo uses 345 requests per user per day on average, which is also in line with my findings. That is 0.4% of the limit Reddit was previously imposing, which I would say is quite efficient. All right, word. How many users you got, though? As an analogy, can you tell I love analogies? To scale the numbers, if I was to borrow my friend's car and he said, please don't drive it for more than 864 miles, and then I return the car with 3.4 miles driven, I would think he'd be pretty happy with my low use. The fact that the different friend 1 week only used 1 mile is really cool, but I don't think either person is inefficient. I mean, maybe that is the deeper story here. Reddit just wants to funnel people directly to their own app or website. They wanted to kill off Apollo, perhaps, and they did it in the loudest, noisiest, worst possible way. With all that being said, if Reddit would like to see Apollo make further optimizations to get its existing numbers lower, I'm genuinely more than happy to do so. However, the 30-day limit they've given me after announcing the pricing to when I'll start getting charged significant amounts of money is not enough time to deal with rewriting large parts of my app to lower the total requests, which also changed the payment model and transitions users, and I have to ensure that all this is properly tested and goes through app review. It is rather short notice. Okay, 30 days to rewrite your entire code. Are you sure about that? I mean, not the entire code. He probably doesn't have spaghetti code, but sometimes things are linked in ways that you don't expect. You're like, oh, I comment out this code block and the whole thing breaks for no reason. Cool, I'll just leave that then. Whatever, it would take way more than 30 days. I don't know how big their app is, but with the customization and all that stuff he said earlier, it sounds like it's pretty hefty. So further, Reddit themselves said to me that the majority of the cost isn't the server, it's the opportunity cost per user. So the focus on 100 versus 345 calls rather than the cost per user doesn't sound genuine. At the very least, providing even a bit more time to lower usage to their new targets would be feasible if they've historically provided it, and it's not the majority of the costs anyways. On the phone call, Apollo said, because I assume the majority of it isn't server costs. I assume the majority is the opportunity cost per user. Reddit, exactly. So they didn't say that, you said that, and they agreed with it. Let's continue to keep the record straight here, okay? So why not just increase the cost of Apollo? Yeah, only $1,000 per month for my iPhone Reddit app. The pricing is too damn high. That's the truth of it all. One option many have suggested is to simply increase the price of Apollo to offset the costs. The issue here is that Apollo has approximately 50,000 yearly subscribers at the moment. On average, they paid about $10 a year many months ago, a price I chose based on operating costs that I had at the time. Server fees, icon design, having a part-time server engineer. Those users are owed service, as they are already prepaid for a year, but starting July 1st will, in the best case scenario, cost an additional $1 per month each in Reddit fees. That's $50,000 in sudden monthly fees that will start incurring in only 3 days. Sounds like the cheaper option is to pay out those premium users. Be like, look, sorry we couldn't serve it for the full time. Here's some money back for the months that never got used. 50K, man. I don't know about all that. Especially if they got like many months left to go. So you see, even if I did increase the price for new subscribers, I still have those many users to contend with. If I wait until their subscription expires, slowly, month after month, there will be less of them. First month, 50,000, second month, 45, then 40, until everything is expired, amounting to hundreds of thousands of dollars. It would be cheaper to simply refund users. That's what I just said. I don't know why I'm coming up with these solutions. He's already thought of it. He's an engineer, for God's sake. He's like 10 times smarter than me, at least. I hope you can recognize how that's an enormous amount of money to suddenly start incurring within 30 days notice. Even if I added 12,000 new subscribers at $5,000 a month, an enormous feat given the short notice, after Apple's fees, that would only be enough to break even. This is heavy, bro. They really do have you between a rock and a hard place, but I'm thinking that that's exactly where they want you. Because more people not paying for your app and instead fuddling into the Reddit app to either buy premium or look at the ads. Like, you can sort of see where they're coming from. Maybe a stretch of an argument, but like I said, nobody's really 100% in the right here. Although I am starting to lean more Apollo's way the more we read on. So, going from a free API for 8 years to suddenly incurring massive costs is not something that I can feasibly make work within only 30 days. There's a lot of users to migrate and plans to create, things to test, some stuff to get through app review, and it's just not economically feasible. It's much cheaper for me to simply shut the whole thing down. And that is what he has decided to do. And I don't blame him one little bit. You had a good run, you know? 8 years, that's a long time to stay at a job. You probably got some other apps out there that are doing just fine. You're gonna be okay. Shut it down, say, hey, I'm super sorry, try out my new 4chan app, and it's all gonna go great. You'll never get that on the Apple Store. So what's the real issue that you're having? Bo, you really don't need to boil it down. Yeah, pricing, we got it. Hopefully this illustrates why, even more than the large price associated with the Reddit, the 30-day timeline between when the pricing was announced and when developers will be charged is a far, far, far bigger issue, and one that I simply cannot overcome. See, he was even willing to work it out, you know? He's like, okay, just scale me up, it's gonna be fine. I guess Apollo OP does seem like a pretty level-headed and legit guy, you know? He tried everything he could to make it work, and Reddit kind of just stonewalled him. But again, maybe that was their whole plan. I have to think. Or else they're just acting like complete idiots and the whole thing's a complete swizzle, like I said before. So much more time, of course, would be needed to overhaul the payment model in my app, transition existing users from existing plans, test the changes, have users update to the new version. As a comparison, when Apple bought Dark Sky and announced a shutdown of their API, knowing this API was the core of many businesses, they provided 18 months before the API would be turned off. When the 18 months came, they ultimately extended it another 12 months, which resulted in a transition period of 30 months. While I'm not asking for that much, Reddit's, in comparison, is only 30 days. Yeah, I guess there are a few things out there that depend on this API, but it's good to know, have confirmed that they can shut it off. So the blackmail thing they said earlier, that's like a completely insane person thing to say, isn't it? Reddit really is just digging this hole deeper, man. We're gonna have to migrate. It's 4chan and TikTok content from now on. If you don't like it, get off the ride. I also have to Wayback Machine like every post in my subreddit. I don't want to lose none of thems. Anyways, Reddit says you won't get your first bill until August 1st, however. The issue is the size of the bill, not when it will arrive. Significant changes for the API will start building up with 30 days notice on July 1st. The fact that the bill for those charges being 30 days from then isn't really important. If you hear that your electricity bill is going up 1,000 times and the company tells you, don't worry, the bill only comes at the end of the month. Yeah, I hope you understand how that isn't very comforting. I'm gonna run up that bill for 3 months and move when they shut the power off. Just one last hurrah to stick it to the man. Super solid analogy, though. I do like that. This OP's painting some very nice pictures, isn't he? So what would be a good proposed price or timeline? Well, I hope I explained above why the 30-day time limit is the true issue. However, in a perfect world, I think lowering the price by half and providing a 3-month transition period to the paid API would make the transition feasible for more developers, myself included. These concessions seem minor and reasonable in the face of these changes. Yeah, Reddit really does seem to be shooting themselves in the foot with this one. They'll probably still retain half their user base, because I don't know, we are creatures of habit, ain't we? But like I said, nobody wants to budge, and it's just gonna cause huge issues. I thought you said Reddit would be flexible on the timeline. Well, that was my understanding as well, based on what they said on a call on May 4th. Reddit,
if there's an entity who's like, hey, I'm showing really good progress, you know, like trying to like get a contract in place or trying to do all that type of stuff, I don't think you're gonna see us be like, you know, overly aggressive on that timeline, and I feel pretty confident about that point, by the way, based on conversations that I've heard internally. So yes, Reddit would be flexible on that timeline based on hearsay. I've heard internally, okay, that means nothing to me. Don't report back until you have something concrete, how about that? However, when asking for more time, such as a 90-day transition period to make the changes, They said, on the 90-day transition, remember, the billing doesn't kick in till July 1st, so you won't see your first bill from July till the beginning of August, and it won't be due until the end of August. It's net 30-day billing. You do, however, have to sign an agreement to get paid level access on July 1st.
Which obviously he did not do. Because, yeah, I'm not gonna have a $50,000 bill arrive at the end of August. That's still gonna sink me. It's just gonna sink me a couple months later. Did you explicitly ask Reddit for more time? Yes, I did. My last email to them, including Steve, said, hey, in terms of timeline, what concerns me most is the short nature of it before I start incurring costs. I have a large amount of users at price points that I won't be able to afford to support with only 30 days notice. For instance, users who subscribed for a year at $10 6 months ago when I had no idea any of this was coming amounts to 83 cents per month, or 58 cents after Apple's cut. Even if I'm able to decrease my API usage to the number in your charts, that still puts me in the red for every one of those users for a while with no recourse. A situation like this is one that legitimately makes me leaning toward shutting down the app. Really? Legitimately? I'm just razzing you. You're a smart guy. But one that I could salvage if I was given more time to transition from the free API to the paid API. In prior calls, you mentioned that provided I kept communicating and progress was being made, the timeline wasn't an absolute. Is that still the case? Or is it now the case that the date is set in stone? That was a week ago, and I've yet to receive any further contact from Reddit. Yeah, the dragon of bureaucracy rears its ugly head, doesn't it? Isn't all this your fault for building a service reliant on someone else? Well, that's a terrible argument, honestly. To a certain extent, yeah. However, I was assured this year by Reddit, not even that long ago, that no changes were planned to be made to the API Apollo uses. And I've made decisions about how to monetize my business based on what Reddit has said. On January 26th, I'd expect no change, certainly not in the short to medium term, and we're talking like order of years. Yeah, half years, I guess. Another portion of the call, January 26th. There's not going to be any change on it. There's no plans to. There's no plans to touch it right now in 2023. OP says, okay, fair enough. And if we did touch it, we're going to be improving on it in some way. Yeah, that's what always happens. New great taste. I hate it. I mean, Reddit guy in the first part kind of shot himself in the foot with saying order of years, but I don't see what's wrong with saying there's no plans currently right now to touch it in 2023. And then 6 months later, you're like, oh yeah, we have been bleeding for a couple of quarters. I'm telling you, ad revenue is way down. I've been making consistent views on videos, but yeah, I don't know, man. I guess we're all saving up for Christmas or something. OP paints the question, will you build a competitor or move to one of the existing alternatives? I've received so many messages from kind people offering to work with me to build a competitor to Reddit, and while I'm very flattered, that's not something I'm interested in doing. I'm a product guy. I like building fun apps for people to use, and I'm just not personally interested in something more managerial. Those last several months have also been incredibly exhausting and mentally draining. I just don't have it in me to engage in something so enormous. That's fair. You could just be the face of it, take some of those people and smash them together and be like, okay, show me what we can do! And then I guarantee you, you'd be making way more than just 6 figures a year. Well, that's just from this app. Like I said, I'm pretty sure he has multiple apps. OP says, are you gonna sell Apollo? Well, no, probably not. Maybe if the perfect buyer came along who thought they could turn Apollo into something cool and sustainable, but I'd rather just let the app die if it would go to a company that would turn something that I worked really hard on into something that would ruin its legacy. Dude, he's principled. That's the coolest thing you said so far, OP. To be clear, I'm not threatening anyone with the previous paragraph. Little jab there too. Reddit states that the Twitter comparison is unfair. Reddit stated on the first call that they didn't want to be like Twitter.
I think one thing that we've tried very intentional about is that we're not Elon. We're not trying to be that. We're not trying to go down the same path. We're trying to do something that is usage-based pricing. So that'll hopefully be very transparent to you and very clear to you. Or we're not trying to go down the same path that you might have seen some of our other peers go down.
It's a bunch of spin, a bunch of bureaucracy. And it definitely is a different flavor of cringe, you know? I don't think as many people will be able to digest this one, but it is cringe all the same. They now state that the comparison of how close their pricing comes to Twitter is an unfair one, and that when they said that above, they were apparently referring not to the pricing, but to the decision that Twitter made to ban third-party apps at a rule level, not a pricing level. I think regardless of whatever their intent or meaning behind the comparison to Twitter was, the result is the same. The pricing's gonna kill third-party apps, just like Twitter did. I mean, at a certain point, why have APIs at all, you know? Why did you implement this if you were going to hate it? Here's a cool thing for you guys to use. No, you're using it wrong! I don't know, man. There's so many layers to all of this. I stated all this to Reddit, and they responded that they don't think Twitter's pricing is unreasonable, and that, if anything, if Twitter reversed the rule about third-party apps, they would probably increase the prices as well. Well, yeah, news update for you, Reddit. You ain't Twitter. Even Twitter's not doing that well, okay? The social media tech boom, that's all over. We're looking at the AI tech boom at the moment. Yes, Twitter dropped 59% in ad revenue. Everybody's bleeding, okay? You are trying to squeeze blood from a stone. I don't think Reddit wants to be big meanies. I think they're just trying to fundraise in any way that they possibly can. So just to be how clear, how wrong, and out of touch what he said is about Twitter's pricing being completely reasonable, without naming names, a formerly very, very, very high up person at Twitter messaged me on Twitter and said, the Reddit API moves are crazy. I'm not sure what choices you have, but to move to another network. The pricing is designed to prevent apps like yours forevermore. See, like I said, trying to drive people onto their native website. And we don't have the receipt for that Twitter message, but that's okay. You've been honest so far, so I have no reason to disbelieve you. To be clear, even this person thinks the pricing is unreasonable, and I do too. Yeah, I do 3. That's why my social media thread lifting, posting neckbeard things on my Twitter from Reddit never panned out. Twitter's API is crazy, bro. It's cheaper to pay a human to do it, is what I'll say. So, have you talked to CEO Steve Huffman about any of this? I requested a call to talk to Steve about some suggestions I had, and his response was, sorry, no. You could give name redacted a pig if you want. I then emailed that person, same person I've been talking to for months, suggestions approximately 1 week ago about how Apollo could survive this, and I have yet to receive a response. I mean, no response is a response. They want to kill your app, dude. Whether that's right or wrong, it's really not for me to say. I can see it from both sides. But the fact that Apollo's been really transparent about this and Reddit has definitely not makes me lean towards Apollo's side. So if the hate mob on the internet's looking for somebody, go after that guy! Do I support the protest / Reddit blackout? Abundantly! Unlike other social media companies like Facebook and Twitter who pay their moderators as employees, Reddit relies on volunteers to do the hard work for free. I completely understand that when tools that they use to do their volunteer important jobs are taken away, there's going to be anger and frustration there. While I haven't personally mobilized anyone to participate in the blackout out of fear of retaliation from Reddit, the last thing I want is for that to feel like I don't support the folks speaking up, because I wholeheartedly do. Like I said, free API is cool, but I couldn't use it with Twitter. It seems like Twitter is doing what most tech companies are doing to stay afloat, so what do I know, man? I really ain't got no dog in this fight. I'll continue to posting social media manually. It's fine. Needless to say, it's been a horrible week, and the kindness that Redditors and moderators and communities have all shown Apollo and other third-party apps has genuinely made it much more bearable, and I am genuinely so appreciative. Yeah, genuinely though? I'm just messing with him. He's a fun guy. I am admittedly doubtful that Reddit wants to listen to other folks anymore, so I don't see it having any effect. Yeah, especially if it only lasts for 48 hours, dude. It has to be indefinite if you really want them to rethink their position. But then again, like I said, maybe to increase advertiser revenue, they'd have to get rid of the not safe for work subreddits. And then people are gonna change their tunes really quick, I'm pretty sure. You don't threaten people's porn, Reddit. You just don't. So your initial post in April sounded quite optimistic. Are you dumb? Dude's out here calling him dumb in his own post. I mean, why would you do this? In hindsight, kinda, yeah. Many of the other developers and folks I talked to were much less optimistic than I was, but I legitimately had great interactions with Reddit for many years prior to last week. They were kind, communicative, gave me heads up of changes, so when they said they were aiming to have pricing that was fair and based in reality, I honestly believed them. That was foolish of me, in hindsight, and maybe could have had a different outcome if I was more aggressive in the beginning. Sorry/Canadian. That's okay. We'll just have to go outside and start touching grass. And to be clear, they did indeed say this. They used the word substantive, and I wanted to make sure that we had the same definition of something having a firm basis in reality and therefore important, meaningful, or considerable. Reddit said, "That's exactly right, and I think thankfully the word is exactly the right one. It's gonna have a firm basis in reality. I also just looked it up. Totally science, just a fact." We're gonna try and be as transparent as we can. Well, you failed miserably at that goal. I do agree it's sort of based in reality, as in another company in reality is doing it. But yeah, that company is also bleeding money, so maybe don't take their lead. I don't know what to tell you, man. Reddit claims that we've reached out to developers who were bad users of the API. Was Apollo contacted? On May 31st, Reddit posted a chart of large excess usage by some unlabeled API clients and stated, "We've reached out to the most impactful large-scale applications in order to work out terms for access above our default rate limits via an enterprise tier." To be clear, Apollo was never contacted, and I've been told from someone internally that Apollo is indeed not one of those unlabeled API clients. This is hella sussy. They really just wanted to knock your app off. I'm telling you. iOS Reddit app coming to stores, I don't know, anytime soon, whenever the hell they develop it. Okay, to be clear, I know they have a Reddit app on the Apple Store, all right? It just sucks. The only time that Apollo was reached out to by Reddit in any capacity about usage was late last year, when we received an email about a 6-minute period where Apollo's server API issues increased by 35% before lowering again. Despite 35% for 6 minutes being a comparatively small blip, the above post references clients that are over by 500,000%. We responded within 2 minutes. We offered to jump on a call with Reddit engineers if they needed an answer ASAP, identified the issue within several hours, and Reddit thanked us for the fast investigation. Damn, old boy really keeping all the receipts, isn't he? I love this. There's so much to dig through here. Claims that Apollo has made no attempt of being a good user of the API. On a call with moderators, Steve Huffman said, "I don't use the app, so I'll give you the best answer I can. He does scraping so he can deliver notifications faster, but has done no effort to be a good citizen of the internet." Adorable. First off, Apollo does no scraping. It's purely through authenticated calls to the API and has checks in place to ensure that it stays within Reddit's API rate limits. I've open sourced the server code in order to show this. Dude, extreme transparency. I have no idea what the hell I'm looking at, but yeah! Good for you, Christian. Smarter people than me know what you're talking about. Secondly, to say we've made no effort is categorically false. I have so many emails where I've reached out to Reddit expressing concerns about bugs and inefficiencies in the API, or ideas on how to improve things, or significant Reddit bugs that made things hard on us. When Reddit has had questions for us, as described above, we immediately jumped into action to get an answer as quickly as possible. Here are some email examples that I'm going to skip over, but you can pause the video if you want to. How about claims that third-party apps are not interested in talking? Reddit says, "Why not work with third-party apps? Their existence isn't a priority for us. We don't use them, I don't use them. It's part of our traffic, but not a lot. And it's a lot of work on our side to keep them alive. If I have to choose where to put effort, we're gonna focus internally. I'm kind of open to it, but I haven't, and I can't convince you. But I don't get the sense that they want to work with us either." Yeah, and you haven't even tried. Just presume that, that's fine. The lowest effort possible. I think third-party apps are far more than you're letting on here, Reddit. I'm genuinely not sure where Steve got the impression that I don't want to work with him, despite reaching out multiple times and him declining to talk. I've stated multiple times on calls, literally saying the words, yeah, I definitely still want to talk. I also emailed Steve and the other contact directly stating that I'm interested in talking or including ideas for how we could come to a solution. And I'm skipping over the receipts at this point because I'm trying to fast forward a little. So how about claims that Reddit has been talking to developers for months about these changes?
We've been in contact with third-party apps for months, talking about these upcoming changes.
When you announce that the API will be charging developers, the most important portion of that conversation is what will be charged, which was not available for almost 2 months after the initial call. From the time developers were told the price to the time that developers will be subjected to that price is 30 days, not months. Months would have been very helpful, in fact. Okay, so what about existing subscriptions? Well, I've been talking to my rep at Apple, and over the next few weeks, my plan is to release something similar to what Tweetbot did. Paul's been incredibly helpful. Dev of Tweetbot, I suppose. Where folks can decide if they want a prorated refund on any existing time left in their subscription, as Apollo will not be able to continue to afford it, or they can decline the refund if they're feeling kind and have enjoyed their time with Apollo. For the curious, refunding all existing subscriptions by my estimates will cost me about $250,000.
Holy hell.
That's a little game we like to call Kick Dick. It hurts. It hurts. But it's better than the millions that would have been accumulated, I guess. A nice send-off to WWDC. Apollo got mentioned a few times during Apple's 2023 keynote, even by Craig Federighi himself. Yeah, that guy. Who is he? Elijah, throw up the Wikipedia page. And even during the Vision Pro announcement, showing Apollo as one of the existing apps compatible with the headset. I'm sorry that I won't be able to see that happen. Oh no, I can't attach Reddit to my face now. No, it really does suck though. Extra icons, how about that? A funny amount of people have reached out wondering about all the extra monthly icons I had queued up for Apollo. I loved them, was so excited for them, and I'll make them available immediately for the short time left, but if you're curious, here's a screenshot of all of them. Wow, cool, I don't know what the hell that does. We ended up with well over 100 custom icons designed by incredibly talented designers, and I'm really sorry to those designers who didn't get to see their work launched in the app. To be clear, don't worry, I paid them all. It wasn't some BS exposure agreement, but it is fun to have your icon launch, and I feel bad about it. You have to pay for these icons? I don't know what the hell's happening. So when's Apollo's last day? Well, in order to avoid incurring charges, I will delete Apollo's API token on the evening of June 30th Pacific time. Just evening? Like 6 p.m. Pacific? Something like that? Until that point, Apollo should continue to operate as it has, but after that date, attempts to connect to the Reddit API will fail. I'll put up an explainer in the app prior to that, and it will go live on that date. I'll also provide a tool to export any local data you have in Apollo, such as filters or favorites. Oh, well, that's a nice gesture, isn't it? Finally, a big thank you. Want to thank a lot of people who have helped make this week bearable. Hell yeah, girlfriend MVP plays out here. Andre Medeiros working on the Apollo server component. Shoutouts to my mom, to God, to Airbnb, Ryan Jones, Brian Mueller, Larry Hrib, a bunch of people. Finally, OP wants to say, I'll be fine. No bullshit, I really will be fine. Through pure chance last year, I spun off my silly Pixel Pals idea into a separate app that actually makes pretty good revenue on the side. Also, I have savings. Recently, like last week, my city had its worst wildfires in history with over 100 homes destroyed. That's brutal. Losing an app is sad, but it's been helpful to me to recognize how much worse it could really be, just literally down the street from me. Honestly, Apollo had an incredible run. I met cool people. By my last count, talked with folks over 15,000 times in our subreddit about Apollo, and raised over $80,000 for my local animal shelter through Apollo, so I feel incredibly fortunate. I think I'll rewatch Ted Lasso, though. Hey, reference I don't get. Supporting my work? Yeah, you can check out Pixel Pals. There's also an AMA and a tip jar, but I think we covered the most salient points in far too much detail. Another last-minute addendum to this video was a leaked email that was sent around Reddit internally. It says, okay, starting last night, about 1,000 subreddits have gone private. We anticipate many will come back by Wednesday, as many have said as much, which is how this protest shot itself in the foot before it even started. CEO states it is a challenge and we have our work cut out for us, but we've not seen any significant revenue impact so far. We will continue to monitor it. There's a lot of noise with this one, among the noises that we've seen, but please know that our teams are on it. And like all blow-ups on Reddit, this one will pass as well. Which is essentially what I said at the very beginning of the video. I don't think things are going to grind to a standstill. Will they lose some users? Yes, I'm sure they will. But Reddit is essentially an integral part of the internet at this point. If there's something you want to do and don't want to watch a YouTube video for, somebody has written it out in a Reddit post. I guarantee it. Anyway, CEO also states that they have API deals with accessibility-focused apps, such as Red Reader and Dystopia. So they're not really cold, heartless monsters, but they are overcharging for something that they feel that they are owed. After a decade of providing it for free, which you could go either way on that one. Wow, it's nice they provided it for free for 8 years. Or, I can't believe they're taking it away after 8 years. Either way, doesn't really matter. I don't think that this is a battle worth lining up on any side for. Corporate drama ain't all that interesting. As I said, I don't have a big investment in any of what happens here. I don't use an API to rip posts. I do mine the old-fashioned way. And I pay my hard-earned $6 a month to Reddit Premium, goddammit! I did my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part.
I'm doing my part too.
Finally, let's just scroll down and see some of the subreddits that we've lost during this blackout. At least for another 24 hours, right? I will remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let your life pass you by sitting on Reddit all day. I will remember you. Will you remember me? Oh, r/Tinder, it's so sad. Let your life pass me by. There are a lot of big subreddits that have gone dark, but like I said, I only use the cool subreddits, so I don't really, it doesn't make a difference to me. It might have some effect. Reddit does seem pretty gung-ho. I don't know if they're telling people how bad it actually is. It will be interesting to watch unfold, but even if Reddit collapses completely, ReddX will continue on. We'll just have to find another corner of the internet in which to do so. I hope you enjoyed this video, friends. Found it insightful, helpful, something like that. You can like, comment, and or subscribe. Likes really do help push the video out there. Viewer satisfaction, one of the most important YouTube metrics. So thank you in advance if you do, or if you share it, or whatever happens. I'm sure most people are looking for succinct, but this is the deep dive. That's what I like to do. If you want, you can follow me on social media, Twitter, Discord, TikTok, etc., etc. Thank you in advance. Again, also to Patreon patrons, YouTube channel members, you guys are just such MVPs, you know? I gotta prep up another song for you. We're getting a little past due, ain't we? I'll get that to you shortly. If you want to thank me just one time, you could do the thanks button at the bottom of the video. One of your dollars worth like 3-4 of mine. Extrapolate that. I appreciate you whether you can support monetarily or not. Thank you for watching the video, truly. Come back, join us again tomorrow. Keep yourself safe out there, wash your hands, and of course, always remember, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy, you definitely deserve it, and I shall see you in the next one. So until then, bye-bye.
It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown.